What is up, my friends? It is Saturday night, and you are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. As always, a massive thank you for joining me this evening. We are, of course, going to focus in on the headline coming out from Le Parisien that said that Liverpool are prepared to pay €140 million all in for Bradley Barcola. So that's exactly where we thought we'd kick off tonight with the first poll question. Are you happy if Liverpool go in and agree the fee at €140 million, which equates to just about £120 million? That's the first poll question of the night, and of course we'll dip back into it in a little bit. We're also going to discuss the links to Adam Wharton as they've grown over the last 24 hours. We'll try and figure out who this second forward is that Liverpool look like they want to bring in. I can't really see past Mbaye at this point, but I don't have anything concrete on it, so I'm just a fan like everybody else trying to figure it out. And then we're going to try and see if there's any other bits and pieces that we think we can get done. Outgoings, we'll talk Cody Gakpo, we'll talk Curtis Jones, and as always a reminder, the Reds have 2 games coming up tomorrow, which sounds a little bit weird to say, but Connor will be here at 11 a.m. to bring you through the morning Como game, and of course I'll then be here at 5 p.m. to take you through the 6 p.m. game. So as always, thank you folks for coming in and joining me this evening. Any questions that you guys have, I'll do my best to answer them as I always do. So yeah, look, I guess we got to start off with the Le Parisien piece, right? And it just said, quite simply, Liverpool are ready to pay €140 million, including bonuses, for Barcola. Now, I'm not saying that that's an agreed number. I haven't got a clue on the numbers of it and when it's agreed or not. But let's look at it objectively for a minute. What's happened over the past 24 hours? Well, Paris Saint-Germain have gotten Guts in. Got the Here We Go there in Romano. They've gotten Ferran Torres in. They've already got Akliouche in. So they've got all of their ducks now in a row, as we've been saying for a while. And there's nothing stopping this deal moving forward now. I hope that maybe we hear something this evening. But as always, a little urge of caution there. But €440 million, I mean, it is a weird thing to say out loud and try to justify as a rational price tag because it does seem a bit excessive. But I guess at this point, as a fan, I got to ask the question, is it going to make us better if he comes in or not? And the answer is yes. But also, have we had our pants pulled down a little bit if that's the number? Probably a little bit, to be honest with you, but it is a seller's market for wide players, and as we've said before, with some of the price tags that have been going around, not just this summer, but last summer, of which we've played a part in, can we really expect much else? So look, tonight we'll have that conversation, as I said, up to you guys to let me know what you're thinking on it. The 5DBS, you got a free membership there, mate, nice one, and thank you to, who was it that gifted them? Let me go back and check. Will, I think it was WL, gifted 5 memberships. Legend bro, thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, folks, let's get into it, right? Let's give us your thoughts on this one. There's nothing really stopping the deal from moving forward now. You know, Paris Saint-Germain have got their business done. So Liverpool have no reason to be waiting around anymore. And look, that's kind of where we're at. There's been lots of talk about Adam Wharton over the past 24 hours, but I think it's fair to ask, how realistic is this under these owners? And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the finances of the situation so far. This summer, Liverpool are on the hook for, at the moment, about £95 million. And that's before the Bradley Barcola signing. So if we take it as face value that that will be £120 million, then you're in for Liverpool being in for £215 million without recouping any money. So let's then play this out a little bit. Curtis Jones gets sold. Let's say Liverpool get £30 million for that one. So that's then £30 million off. There's £185 million outlay so far. Now, Cody Gakpo could bring that down a little bit. Let's say £110 million. But if Liverpool are to go out there and get a second forward, as has been widely reported, you would imagine that's going to cost 40 or 50 million. So you're back up then again to the 160 million bracket. And that's before we look at the midfield situation. So if Wharton is £78 million or anything close to it, you're then looking at a summer where Liverpool have eclipsed their outlay for net spend last summer by a significant amount. And that's what makes me a little bit cautious here. I do think and expect that there might be something unsavoury with regards to an outgoing if the stuff around Wharton is true. And like I've said, I don't know on Adam Wharton. I am going off other people's reporting on it. I have absolutely nothing inside information-wise on that one. But yeah, that's where we're at. So yeah, 1 or 2 games tomorrow, only showing 1 at 6. No, they're both on as far as I'm aware, mate. Both the games on LFC TV tomorrow. That was confirmed by the club a few weeks back, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the time frame was changed. It was initially a 12 o'clock start for the early game tomorrow. They moved it earlier by half an hour. So, right, we need to get Kamara for 40 million instead of Wharton. Look, I guess let's look at the upsides and the downsides, right? So for Wharton, what you're getting is a homegrown player. So it removes a lot of the headache. Now, I'm not saying Wharton is a better fit than Kamara, but it could come down to those homegrown places or the availability of Liverpool to add people into their squad. And of course, a homegrown player wouldn't say no to one. And we've not really shown that we're in the mix for Lamine Kamara recently because, we've had Crystal Palace put in an offer or two. Forest have been sniffing around, but there's never been much to say that Liverpool have followed up what is an interest in the player. So honestly, I don't know, but I'm easy. I just struggle to see a world where we do the business that's been talked about without a couple of significant sales. And that's why I would urge a bit of caution. Rob Houlden, how are you? Or Houlden, excuse me, mate. Said, so if we get BARCOLA and Bay Wharton, then Jeremy Munoz, would you be happy with that? You're still short of a right back, but yes, pretty much. Like, I always expect to be a little bit underwhelmed in the window by our recruitment. So if we had a situation where Wharton came in, BARCOLA came in, and Bay came in, Jacque Munoz, yeah, I think that would be a respectable window. But I would still have to say, yes, we need a right back. But no, I wouldn't complain if that was the end of the window and we didn't have any major outgoings other than potentially Cody Gakpo and Curtis Jones. It seems as if McAllister's staying, according to a lot of reports today as well. There's been some reports that suggest that Liverpool could be even entering into negotiations with him over a new deal. So hopefully we get some more concrete news on that in the coming days. Joelinton is injured, according to Craig Hope. I'd seen that report earlier on. Yeah, I think he's out for a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken, which would, of course, rule out the situation with him playing against us. So, again, my trolling little friend, how many times do I have to tell you I'm not going to be reading out your super chats no matter how much you spend anymore, because I'm in a good place, dude, and I'm going to stay in this good place. So you can continue to be a cheap fucking super chat all you want, but I'm going to concentrate on the people who actually want to be here. We good? Right. McAllister has such a great song, can't complain if he stays. Now look, I've always been more than open to the idea of Macca staying. But what I haven't been open to is the situation with him running down his contract and maybe Madrid getting him cheaper. So if Liverpool are looking to sit down and negotiate a new deal with Macca, brilliant. I hope that's the case. But it does make it a little bit far-fetched. Is that the word I'm looking for? I just struggle to think that in this window, we're going to have an outlay of over £200 million because we've never done that with FSG. Last summer, yes, we spent 450-ish, but we brought back in around 300. So this would be our biggest outlay net spend. Now, again, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe now that 30% stake has been bought by Eduardo Saverin, Ahmed Bhatia and the Jeff Bezos consortium, maybe things shake up a little bit. I really don't know. But what do you guys think? Like, would you be surprised if Liverpool got Wharton in, got Mbaye in, got BARCOLA in, Jacque in, Munoz in, and we didn't really see any major sales outside of, let's say, Gakpo and Jones? I'd be surprised at that because that would be a fairly significant output, particularly in midfield. But I'd be very happy. I've always said to you guys, I don't know the profile of midfielder that Andoni Iraola wants, but whoever he is, I'm going to get behind them. So if it's Adam Wharton, great. If it's Kamara, great. I just want the manager to have the squad he's happy with. Did FSG want a consortium deal before the transfers? I'd be guessing, mate. I'd be absolutely guessing. Look, we told you guys something yesterday and last night, which isn't an earth-shattering story from us, but I see it's been picked up more today by The Athletic and a lot of other people. I can't keep re-emphasising this enough, but there is a mechanism in this 30% stake that allows this consortium to become a controlling owner of Liverpool in the next 12 months. That would be at an $8 billion valuation, so it would be a hefty one. But according to the reporting from, I think it was CNBC, That is with the investors. That isn't on FSG. This can be triggered by the guys who just bought into the club if they so wish in the next 12 months. So you don't put a clause like that in really unless you have ambitions or a thought process that may lead to taking up a bigger stake in the club. So let's wait and see. But getting back to your question, I'd be guessing to suggest if any of the two things are linked or not. Because what we still don't know, the truckers here, mate, is we don't know what that money is going to be used for. Because ultimately, FSG can put the money in their back pocket and rightly do so. You know, it's their club. They sold 30% of it. They're free to do what they want with the money. And there's nothing to suggest that they have to put all or some of it back into the club. So we're all kind of in the dark on that one, to be honest with you. Look, you would imagine, though, that when these guys came on board and now have a 30% stake of the club, you would imagine that they'd want to come in with a bit of fanfare and a bit of positivity. So maybe this has been what's dragging things along a bit. But I would be guessing, like I said. Craig, is Bezos confirmed as part of the investment or not yet? Oh, no, it is. It's confirmed. Jeff Bezos, he's not going to be on the board himself. I think somebody else from that investment part of his investment arm is going to be there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Eduardo Saverin's wife is going to become on as vice chairman of the board or something like that. But no, it is confirmed. Eduardo Saverin, Ahmed Bhatia, Jeff Bezos, and whoever else is in that consortium. But what we don't really know is, or at least I don't know at this moment, how much was put in by each person or what the breakdown is inside that consortium. I don't know. Muldor said, I've started calling the trolls the Crunchy Rock Brigade since that's all the action that they get. Love you, mate. Hope you and the fam are well. Yeah, we're good. Thank you, bro. We're good. Yeah, I had a good talk with myself last night about the trolls, and I'm going to try my best not to bite on anything anymore. You know, if there's a genuine question or somebody disagrees with me, that's fair enough. But there's a pattern of these things. They either ask a leading question that looks like a serious question, they ask me for my opinion on somebody else calling me something, or they just flat out call me a liar. So I'm just not going to bite on them anymore, because I really do enjoy the time I spend with you guys, and I want to give you my attention. Where have we got? David, how are you, sir? Said Chiesa, Endo and Harvey could bring in more money. Fair, absolutely. I wouldn't say it would be a significant amount of money, but you're spot on, and it would free up some places as well, because Endo obviously takes up a non-homegrown spot. Chiesa, again, similarly takes up a non-homegrown spot. I think between them, David, and I am, of course, guessing, I'm just trying to work out roughly what I think we could get in. 35 million, maybe, for the three of them. And I think that could be me being a little bit optimistic on it. But look, 35 million is 35 million. Ultimately, it's, you know, it's a chunk of change. Which is weird, right? We're here talking about 35 million with a chunk of change. But honestly, I'll never see 35 million quid in my lifetime. And I dare say most of us won't. Benny, how are you, Benny? Said, hey, Craig, I heard this rumour that Liverpool may take Wolfmada on loan this season to fill in for Hugo until he come back. Have you heard this? The only time I heard it was when somebody mentioned it in the chat to me. I think it was earlier this week, but it was certainly in recent times. And honestly, no. You know, it would be so unrealistic for a whole host of reasons, because it doesn't really help Newcastle. They don't really need the finances at the minute because of the amount of sales that they've made. So there's nothing about that really makes sense to me. Like, why would Newcastle want to help us? Yes, maybe Liverpool would only cover wages or a loan fee, but I just don't see it as making sense. And I don't think it would go down well with Newcastle fans either to loan out a player, whether they think he's good enough or not. So the only time I heard of Benny, mate, is when somebody brought it up in the chat, but I honestly don't know anything about it. And I'd be really surprised if there was any truth to it. Emmanuel, how are you, bro? Said it's better to keep Gakpo than to go and buy Mbaye. I don't know the answer to that one, mate. I understand where you're coming from, because with Cody Gakpo, and I do understand he divides opinion, but I've always said I've never had an issue with Cody Gakpo. I just think some people last season expected him to do things that he never did, and expected him to make up for the dynamism we lost when Diaz moved on. So I think that was almost like held against them to some extent. But ultimately, I think the situation with Gakpo is probably more driven by, one, Spurs' interest, of course. But also, if you look at it logically, he probably knows that the writing's on the wall right now. With BARCOLA coming in, with Rio coming through, he probably knows that he's not going to be a guaranteed starter for Liverpool. And if you look at his age profile, he's an international calibre player. He probably thinks, I can be starting every week. I should be starting every week. And if Spurs, when he spoke with Roberto De Zerbi last week, if Spurs have convinced them that he will play a lot more there, perhaps he thinks it's a good move for his career. I certainly don't imagine Liverpool are trying to chase Cody Gakpo out of the club at all. You know, you always have to have a willing buyer, willing seller, and of course a willing player. So I think the Gakpo one, that would be my guess on it, that might be why he's looking at a move, because he knows what's coming through. And these are players that are going to be here, like with BARCOLA, Munoz, Rio, Mbaye in this case, if it is him. Like, they've got a long future ahead of them as well. So that could be what's driving him to look elsewhere. Niaro said, Craig, Wharton is my dream, but I don't know how he fits if Macca leaves. There's been no indication lately that Macca's leaving. You know, as we said to you guys, there was an openness from Liverpool to engage if an offer came in from McAllister. But it seems like after speaking with the club, and we did tell you the other day that his father was in the London offices with Liverpool having a discussion, it seems as if they're on the same page, at least according to reports, and that Mac is going to stay and the club are going to enter into dialogue about a new deal, which I'm more than happy with. I love Alexis McAllister. But on the Wharton thing, look, it depends what way we look at it. If you look at it from a squad place perspective, Jones out, Wharton in. So there's still space there. Then you can think about how many minutes are we going to see from Trainee only this year, and maybe he steps into the Endo role. So it's hard to really give any type of concrete guess on this, and it is a guess without hearing from the manager and what he's looking for. Rook said, Szoboszlai shirt arrived last week, the away shirt. Nice. I see Footy Headlines, actually, while we're talking about shirts. Footy Headlines seem to have gotten their dates wrong, because I was excited on Wednesday looking for the third shirt that they said was going to be released on Wednesday, and still no sign of it. So I wonder when we will see that one. But well in on the Szoboszlai shirt, my man. Mr. Hart, or James LFC, sorry, I thought it was James Hart there for a second. James LFC, how are you, bro? Lovely to see you in, and thank you for 23 months as a member, and Rook as well for 36 months. 3 years, Rook. Wow, what a man. Legend. If Wharton wasn't homegrown, he wouldn't sniff. Yeah, I mean, look, there's no denying that the homegrown aspect is part of the appeal of Wharton. And look, I'm going to be completely honest and say, I don't watch much of Crystal Palace, so I've seen limited amounts of Adam Wharton, and it makes it even more difficult for me to say yes or no, because I don't know what Iriola's looking for there. But all I'm going to keep saying is, as a fan, I want the manager to get the players that he needs, and if he gets them, I'm happy. So if it's Wharton, brilliant. If it isn't, let's wait and see. But there's certainly enough reports today to suggest that Liverpool are really looking at a midfielder. I'll take you through a few of them now. Right, let me just go back to some of these reports from today, and then we'll work our way through a few more of your comments and a few more things. Let's start off with the news around James McConnell that I brought you guys in the video earlier on. It looks like he's going to be joining Preston North End on loan for the season. We got Ferran Torres joining PSG. We've already talked about that one. That one's completed. Then we have Wolfsburg and Bristol City, who are both interested in taking Kieran Morrison on loan. And I'd prefer him to go to Wolfsburg there, to be honest with you, over going to Bristol City. Nothing against Bristol City, but it'd be nice to see him go and experience a new league and try himself over in Germany. Then we had a comment from the PSG manager, Luis Enrique, to say, when a player doesn't have a smile when coming here, it's better to look for another solution. So as you can see, everything is pointing and leading in the direction of BARCOLA becoming a Liverpool player. And if you add in that Le Parisien piece tonight that said Liverpool are ready to go with €140 million, I think this is the end game now. I think we're right there and close. El Nacional, as we reported the other day, have again linked Liverpool with Adam Wharton, but I wouldn't really be taking my lead from a Spanish publication about Liverpool's interest. I think they wrote about it more from the perspective that Real Madrid have backed away and they're not in the mix. Then we had Paul Gorst, who said Liverpool remain in talks with Paris Saint-Germain over Bradley Barcola. Anfield Chiefs are hopeful of negotiating the fee as discussions continue behind the scenes. And honestly, I keep saying this to you guys because it's true. nobody I know in the football industry, and I do mean nobody, has any negatives around the BARCOLA situation. Anybody you speak to in it has always just felt like it's a matter of when and not if. Now, other players I'm nowhere near as confident on, but the BARCOLA thing, I've never wavered on it to you guys when there's been reports of him wanting to go to London, when there's been reports of an Arsenal hijack. I've always said you've got nothing to worry about there, because that's always been the messaging that comes back. And I know sometimes patience is a virtue, and I'm not somebody who's blessed with patience a lot of the time, but, you know, if we get the guy in, happy days. Obviously, you want him in as quickly as possible because you want the manager to have time to work with him, and the league starts next Sunday for us. Where are we at? Hey, Craig. Saturday, Wharton would be great. I'd love a little bit of Wharton on a Saturday, yeah. I'd love to get some news on that one. That's the one I'm most dubious of in all of this, by the way. It's just because of the numbers. So can I see a world where Liverpool need to bring in a second forward? Yeah, of course I can. That's common sense if they're going to move Gakpo on. And everything at this point looks like Mbappe is certainly the front runner. But after that, I don't know. I'm just dubious about paying 78 million quid in this market for Wharton. As much as I'd be happy with it, I just don't know. I don't know. It's very unusual for us to have that much of an outlay without recouping serious money. But maybe this is a change of direction because of the new investment. Or, you know, maybe we're just going to be disappointed again. So, TalkSport have said something today. They said a big sticking point in Liverpool's chase for Bradley BARCOLA so far has been the asking price. It's understood that PSG want £130 million for the player, and then they say TalkSport now report that this sum has been lowered to 125. Now, if you look at the number that's come out from Le Parisien, €140 million isn't £125 million, but it's close. It's £120 million. So you tally these stories together, and a lot of it seems to be pointing in the direction that that's probably where this is ending up numerically, somewhere around €140 million. I think there was a post earlier on that was deleted from ITK Space that said something like 115 million euro in upfront money, 15 million euro or 20 million euro in really achievable add-ons, and then another 10, 15 million quid in more difficult to achieve add-ons. Now, again, this is speculation, so we'll wait and see. Too much carrying for the midfield, not going to work with the players that we have. I agree, Tiger Valley. Again, like, I do understand, and I agree with Jamie Carragher on his thoughts about the midfield as well. So the need for a DM, I think we're all on the same page with that one, my man. It's just, again, maybe once bitten, twice shy with regards to the outlay. But absolutely, we need a DM. But, you know, is Wharton going to be that guy? We'll have to wait and see. The manager was speaking about Ronald Araujo, by the way, and he said, we've also been able to welcome a new signing to the club this week, with Ronald Araujo joining us on loan from Barcelona. We are, of course, very pleased to have added a player of such quality and experience, and I'm sure he'll settle in quickly and have a positive impact on our squad. I want to play a game with you guys in a minute in the poll, and I want to ask you a question that I asked Connor on the podcast. So if you've listened to the podcast, you probably know what I'm going to ask you, but if you don't, let me remind me in 2 minutes if I don't come back to the poll and change it, because firstly, I want to know your thoughts on the reported price for BARCOLA. Is the €140 million a good deal for you? Would you be happy with it? Now, we haven't put in an unsure option because there's no fence sitting allowed on this one. It's a yes or no. Right, let's check our poll. So far, it's pretty one-sided, to be fair. We'll let it go a little bit longer, because we're heading towards the 3,000 votes mark. Anthony, how are you, bro? Said, hey, Craig, I'm all for big money signings. However, as seen last summer, you can win the transfer window but not win trophies. Players must deliver. Absolutely right. Look, I never celebrate Liverpool spending loads of money, because ultimately I want the club to get the best deal. So like everybody else, I'd much rather we were getting BARCOLA for €100 million than the €140 million. But ultimately, we need these players, and it's a seller's market at the minute. And we're kind of, as I said, we've painted ourselves into a corner somewhat with our situation and our need for reinforcements in that area. So PSG always knew they had a willing buyer, and probably thought they might have a backup option as well if Liverpool did step away. So that's where I'm at with that one. But do I think it's overpaying? Yeah, probably a little bit. Gots announced there by PSG. People are saying in the chat as well. So again, all these things are now stacking up. Let me just read this one out to you. Oh, wow. So Alex Sherman, who did the reporting yesterday around the situation with the clause in the investment deal, he's put something else out into the world today, and he said also the whole that Jeff Bezos is kicking in more than $1 billion as the lead investor in the K5 fund. So Jeff Bezos ponying up over $1 billion as part of that investment into Liverpool. Where was I? Sorry, let me go back to the chats because I want to catch up on them. Watson Ader said, so close to 400k. I remember the 20k days on the up. I'm not going to lie, buddy. I've been trying to hunt down this 400k for a while now. So yeah, if you can help us out on it, as you can see, we're really close to 390,000 subscribers at the minute. So if you can, please do hit that subscribe button for us. And of course, we'd love you to drop a like on the stream as well. Mark said, Trolls Academy still enrolling. Don't be a troll. Yeah, and we always have some bursaries, Mark, don't we, for the trolls? You know, we're willing to educate them in there. We're willing to help fund their football trolling education. Jaden said, if we got Wharton, will it be a DM or is he still injured? I think he's back, But again, I haven't really followed Crystal Palace much this summer. I do think he's getting back towards fitness, though. So, you know, if he comes in, you would imagine he'll pass a medical anyway, or we wouldn't be having the conversation. So let's wait and see on it. You'd have to imagine he will be whatever the version of an Andoni Iraola DM is, or the deepest lying player. So we'll wait and see, Jaden. What's this gentleman's name? Zediup. Excuse me if I've mispronounced that, my friend. So that's the market. 120 million for a superstar. It's fine. Same way Tonali and Fernandes for their fees are fine. Great players. Yeah, it's definitely an expensive market at the minute. I mean, you can, as you've rightly said, mate, you can bring up the money for the situation with Chelsea and the money that they paid for the lad from Aston Villa. So you've got a serious amount of money there, and somebody who was bought for significantly less a couple of years ago. He's gone into Chelsea for 160 million quid, Morgan Rogers, so fairly significant outlay. You've got Elliot Anderson going for about 116 million. You've got Enzo Fernandez, Chelsea looking at 120 million quid if anybody wants him. So yeah, it's an expensive market. And then you look at the wide players and you see Yan Diamonde, about 135 million euro to Real Madrid. And as I've always said, I understand what PSG are asking. I genuinely do. If I was in their shoes and I'm looking at the market and I have a player who's won 2 Champions Leagues, 23, played at the World Cup, I would ask top dollar as well. So, you know, I want Liverpool to get the best deal possible, but this is just the going rate at this minute. And we also can't just say we're not paying it, because we've been part of the skyrocketing of prices ourselves with the money we paid for Isak, the money we paid for Wirtz. Scott said, I get where you're coming from, Craig, about the outlay would be out of the ordinary, but we've so many players free, the investment is now needed. Oh, spot on, Scott. I'm with you, bro. And I hope it's right, mate. I guess I'm trying not to have people getting their hopes up and maybe dashed, because once bitten, twice shy, as I've said plenty of times. But I'm absolutely hoping that what you've said is right, because we have let a lot of players go. And those financial losses for the club weren't caused by you, they weren't caused by me, they weren't caused by the rest of the fan base. They were caused by the club letting taking their eyes off the ball and letting these contracts run down. So yeah, at some point they are going to have to just say, shit, we need to put money in here, and a good chunk of it, you know, whether it's the players running out of contract next summer or whatever. I think there's going to be a few years now where Liverpool are, and I struggle to use the word rebuilding, but that's probably the right word. Any more news on the Jones move? No, Nicholas Bieber, our resident transfer flight merchant, he was saying that there was a jet went from Liverpool to Milan today and back to Liverpool, but I don't know. Did you see the image the other day that we posted in the WhatsApp with Curtis Jones? It didn't escape my attention that he had a suitcase there with him in that photograph. And you don't bring a suitcase if you're just going down to London for a conversation in Liverpool's offices on the train. Do you know what I mean? You're back there same day, if not maybe overnight. And the suitcase looked a little bit big for me, for somebody who was going down for contract negotiations. So it kind of made me feel like we're at the end game there. Obviously, Frattesi and that deal for Inter Milan to Lazio had to take place. But at this point, I'll be astonished if Curtis Jones isn't an Inter Milan player and that isn't agreed and announced as agreed very soon. Tyne said, "Hey Craig, you think of burning love?" I'm going to call that, you calling me a big tank of burning love, so I'll take it. Taking my 6-year-old to a first game tomorrow. Don't know what's best to park. Thanks for being you. So a couple of options, and I don't know if this is still available, but we used to park at Goodison Park on match days for Liverpool games when we went sometimes, because they used to open up the car park at Goodison and we parked down there. I know there is some parking in and around the stadium as well, but it's limited. So certainly say it's worth turning it over to the chat there to give you some suggestions on where to park. But that was where we used to park anyway. We used to go down to Goodison and park down there. But I hope you and your daughter have a wonderful occasion tomorrow. And it's a special moment, isn't it? As a father, bringing your kid to their first game. I brought my daughter over to see Liverpool against Sunderland when she was about 9, I think. And I haven't had the pleasure of bringing my son over yet. So I hope you guys have a great trip tomorrow. Ink Story said, "My opinion, I think Gakpo took too much unfair hate for a season where we failed upside down, downwards and sideways, backwards. Selling him for Mbaye is a joke." So again, I would imagine, and I am just, without being inside that deal, I have to just guess. I don't think it's the club pushing Cody Gakpo out. I really, really don't. I think it's probably that he's open to the move. Spurs really shown eagerness to bring him in. But I get where you're coming from, because I mentioned this yesterday and I wrestled with this idea in my head quite a bit. If the situation pans out that it's BARCOLA and Mbaye that come in, and it's Gakpo that goes out and Chiesa goes out, then you're looking at a front line where we've got a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, and two 23-year-olds. Now, in one way, you could look at that and say, that's good. That's young, youthful exuberance and pace. But in another way, you could rightly look at it and think, there's a little bit of experience missing there. BARCOLA obviously brings some, but outside of that, there's not much experience or much of that 25, 26, 27 age bracket there. So, yeah, that's all I can say to you is I don't think it's the club pushing out Cody Gakpo. I think it's something that that just came about and seems to be something that worked for him, and Liverpool are at least open to the idea of him leaving. But I agree on the hate stuff. I said it all the way through last season. I think he was coming in for some unfair criticism for stuff that he never did. So I'm with you on that one. Merrick, how are you, my man? And thank you so much for being a member with us for 30 months. 30 months, dudes. That's incredible. Thank you. I wonder if FSG would be willing to spend now that the 30% stake deal has been completed. Also, much love to you, Craig, and everybody in the chat. Right back to you, Merrick, my friend. You'd hope so, because as the gentleman mentioned a moment ago, there definitely is a need for investment into the squad. And if you look at the players who've gone for a portion of their value or for next to nothing, they have to be replaced. And sometimes, you have to put the hand in the pocket and pay it. So I would still argue, though, that even if Liverpool get in Mbaye, get in BARCOLA, get in Wharton, I still think the squad's a little bit lacking in another fullback and maybe some filler. But ultimately, we're just going to have to wait and see how this window pans out and finishes. Bobby said, "We're not getting BARCOLA, Craig. Don't be so naive. This is all the signs of another transfer saga that ends with you pretending you never backed it." So, look, mate, I know where you're going with that question. It's a trolling comment. But look, all I'm going to say to you is, I'll still be here, and tell me one thing that I've backed that hasn't come in that isn't the situation with Jude Bellingham. Just one. because I know I've been pretty on the money with it. But honestly, I don't mind what you think. If you don't like me, don't agree with me, that's okay. You've absolutely every right to do that. But when I'm right, and I will be, I bet you won't come back and apologise, will you? I bet you won't come back and say, look, Craig, I doubted you, but you were right. Because you never had any intention of coming in to do anything other than have a little go. So crack on, bro. It's your right to do so. And we'll see who's right in the end, won't we? Hey, Craig, hope you're good. I don't know if it's just me, but if I had to pick one, rather us get a right back than a second attacker. Really excited to see the BARCOLA in red. It's a good point, you know. I don't know if I'd agree or not, but it's a fair point. Like the right back situation, even when it gets resolved, right, to the point that we have Conor Bradley back in, is it really resolved? Or is this another injuries going to come situation where even when he's back in the squad, we're still back to struggling there? Yeah, so I get it. I get the thought process. I just think we have to make sure we've got two wingers on either side because of the amount of games we're going to play this season as well, and because somebody's probably going to have to carry a little bit of water for the situation with Hugo Ekitike and the fact that he won't be back till probably the end of 2026. So we do have to figure that one out. And you know, I think one of these lads might be used to play centrally or as a false nine on some occasion. Any news on Doué supposedly being on strike? All we had on that was what Lola reported in Anfield Index. That was it. It was never our story. It was never something that we had information on. I said it at the time when the story came out. I pointed to the reporting over there and said that it's her sourcing. It's her information. I haven't got a clue, mate, to be honest with you. Anything that I know or get information on, I'll be upfront and tell you on. Other times, I'll tell you it's coming from this source, or excuse me, it's coming from this establishment, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's a TV channel. So I don't know. I've never had anything on that one other than the fact that it was spoken about. I don't think he is on strike for what it's worth. I think he's been training or doing stuff at Strasbourg. So on that, unless something changes quickly or it's being kept very, very quiet, I don't know of anything to suggest it's moved along. Malcolm said, people pay money to troll Craig. It's a win-win. I'd rather they didn't, though. Honestly, mate, I'd rather I just spent the time chatting with you guys and people who wanted to be here. Sometimes, honestly, I'm reading out a super chat. I don't know it's a trolling super chat because I just have a cursory glance at it and then start reading it. But look, in an ideal world for me, there wouldn't be trolls. I'd come on every night and we just have some fun and we get stuck into the football stuff and we might disagree occasionally, but we'll do so respectfully. That's it. You know, it's as simple as that. I'm a simple dude. I believe that if you like something, enjoy it. If you don't like something, look elsewhere. So I can't control what other people do with their lives, but all I can do is to encourage these people that rather than trolling me, do something that makes you happy or do something that maybe develops your potential, you know? That's all I'd say, you know, because as somebody who was down that rabbit hole in my youth, I was a very angry man. I hated the world. I hated a lot of people in the world. I hated my circumstances. I hate that life wasn't going the way I wanted it to, the way I thought it was going to go. And I had two choices. I continued being angry and being going down the wrong path, or I got my finger out of my ass and got cracking. So I tried to be proactive. Never thought it would lead to this, but I certainly knew I needed that human connection. So I went about trying to find it in different ways. And I know it's very easy to get lured into the dark corners of the internet and to go in and feel like this is funny but there's just no point. Like ultimately when you're older, you look back at this and you'll know it was just stupid. So, you know, that's all I'll ever say on it is I just wish they'd spend their time doing something that makes them happy. But if trolling me makes them happy, fair enough. It's a bit weird, but fair enough. We still need a left back. I mean, I don't think we're getting one. That's the unfortunate part. I agree that Costas isn't good enough, and it's a 1 year solution to the problem because we either have to renew him or he goes for free in a year. I never expected a left back in this market. As much as I agree, Michael, I just never expected one. Jonas, how are you, my man? Said, would you choose Rayon or BARCOLA for 120 million? 100% BARCOLA in that scenario for 120 million. Absolutely. And I have to say that because you have a bigger body of work to look at. Rayan has tremendous potential, and I do like him as a player. I really do. But at that level, you're taking a risk because he's very limited Premier League experience. And I know BARCOLA has none, but we've seen this man in Champions League finals. We've seen this man at a World Cup. We've seen him at the top level plenty. So definitely BARCOLA is the more sensible. But I'm not going to sit here and say that the same reservations I've always had about Bradley BARCOLA aren't still there. He needs to brush up on his finishing. He needs to become a bit more of a well-rounded player, but there's lots of potential there and certainly plenty of reasons to be excited. Do you not think the signings we're looking at are all very young? Yes, David, I do. And I've tried to mention that there is a bit of a, I don't say a knowledge gap, but an experience gap, particularly if you look at defence, right? So look at the centre-back situation. And if we could just take Araujo out of the mix just for a minute. At the end of next season, Virgil's going to depart unless something changes. Araujo's going to go back to Barcelona unless something changes. And then we're going to have a situation where we've got Jeremy Jacquet, Giovanni Leone, Nalo, Ndai, and Nduoko. All really young centre-backs. So for me, next summer, the absolute number one priority has to be to get a centre-back that's in the 25 to 28 age bracket that can lead the defence. But I don't mind the midfield refresh. I don't mind that balance age-wise because, you've got Szoboszlai, who's now, into the early part of his prime. You've got Maka, who's 28. You've got Gravenberch, who, again, has plenty of experience. So I'm okay with that. I'm still wrestling, like I said, back and forth in the wide areas to think whether we have too many young players there if Mbaye comes in or whether that is a good thing. Because in one way, like I've said, these pacey wide players are usually at their best when they're in their early 20s, or usually at their most devastating pace-wise. So I can understand what Iriola's looking for. And again, to bring it back around, robustness is what we're going to need this year. We're going to need players who can get through a lot of work, and you're usually talking about younger legs in that department. Craig O'Clock Dan, how are you, bro? Always appreciated the account name, my man. Thanks for all that you do, Craig. You make me feel more connected to the club. Can you explain the work permit point system? I can't because I don't know it well enough. I just don't, mate. I'm not even a UK citizen, so I've no idea about it. From my understanding of the situation with Ndoko, Liverpool didn't use enough young players in the last couple of seasons or bring through enough that meant we could only get an exemption for one. And because Ndai was signed before Nduko, I think that's where the situation came about, that he was the one that Liverpool were registering first. Now, it looks like we only have to send Nduko out on loan until January. So he could be back in, but I couldn't explain it to you, bro, because I don't know the ins and outs of it. That new beast at Villa is 18. He's only 17, apparently. 17. I showed my missus the other day. I said, he's 17, Sabrina. And she said, no, he isn't. He absolutely is. Yeah, he's a big dude, isn't he? And looked like a good player as well. Chromatic Games, how are you, my friend? Say, hey, Craig, do you think a 4-2-3-1 is the right approach going into this season? I believe 3-4-3 fits Iriola better. I don't know if we are going to play with a 4-2-3-1. I would look at it that it's... I think sometimes we get bogged down in formations. Ultimately, you're going to have one deep line midfielder, an 8 that gets licensed to go forward, and a 10. So, yeah. And even if we talk about formations often change multiple times in a game. So, you might have one formation in possession, one formation out of possession. So I wouldn't focus too much on it. Some version of a 4-3-3 is how we'll line up, whether that is a 4-1, a 4-1-2-1-2, whether it's a 4-1-2-3, I don't know. We'll figure it out, just once we have the players to play the way Iriola wants to play, the rest I think we'll all get to grips with over the course of his tenure at the club. Stevie boy, how are you, sir? said, at what point do Liverpool stop worrying about how much money they spend? Revenue alone could pay for the transfers. Look, I don't know why we seem to leave things so late, or we're continuously dragging out negotiations. I don't know. I don't know if Liverpool are juggling a few things behind the scenes. I mean, if you want me to try to give them the benefit of the doubt on it, maybe they're looking at homegrown spots versus non-homegrown spots. Maybe they're working on deals to try and link so one goes out, one comes in. But you are right. We should be and could be able to get our own business done without having to worry about the sales and not getting in any trouble. But I don't know is the honest answer, mate. All I know is the clock's ticking. The window's closing on the 1st of September. The league starts in, 8 days for us now against Newcastle. So we got to get the finger out or we're going into the season underprepared. And either way, I think even if everything goes the way we hope between now and the window shutting, it's probably still going to take a bit of time for these lads to settle in and get used to the new league, new surroundings, new system. And let me ask this poll question before I forget, because I did say I was going to come back to it. So, first thing we asked was, with the reported €140 million, £120 million price tag for BARCOLA, if that's correct, are you happy with it? 71% of the people that voted, nearly 3,500, said yes, and the 29% said no. So let me just ask you guys this question, because I asked it to Connor, and I'd love to know what you guys think. Okay. Okay. Who plays more games at centre-back for Liverpool this season? Ronald Araujo or Jeremy Jacquet? Now remember, I'm asking who you think plays more games, not who you want to. And the reason I ask this is, I'm intrigued to see who actually starts the first game of the season, as an example. Is it going to be Araujo, who maybe has had a little bit more of a pre-season? Or is it going to be Jacquet? It's intriguing. Or is it going to be neither? So I want to know, over the course of the season, who do you think ends up making more appearances at centre-back? Curtis, I haven't missed your super chat, mate. I'm working my way through them, and I currently have, let me just check for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've about 6 before yours, mate, but I promise you I'm trying to work through them as quickly as I can. Done, Stevie boys. This one. Lee, how are you? Lee said, hey Craig, would you prefer Wharton or Alex Scott? Potentially the same, but hope you're okay, mate, and family is okay. Love the channel. I would say for what we need, Wharton would make more sense because, again, from my rudimentary understanding of how things worked at Bournemouth when he was there, I think it was more Tyler Adams that did the breakup play, and it was at Scott that kind of was the more take the ball forward, progressive player. So I would imagine in that scenario, what we need right now is Wharton, but I'd be happy with both of them because I think they're both good footballers. Sorry, it's just something coming in here. So, this now coming out of France said, Mika Gott's arrival is expected to accelerate Bradley Barcola's transfer to Liverpool, and Liverpool are set to make a new offer to PSG next week, this report says. But here's what I don't get, right? Let's say that report is right, and Liverpool are supposed to do it next week. What the fuck are we waiting for? Like, really, what are we waiting for now? The offer should be put in immediately, this second, right now. This nonsense about it coming next week, what's the point of that? Like, every day now matters, every hour matters, every training session matters. So, one, you've got a lad who's clearly, I'm not going to say unhappy at PSG, but knows his time there is pretty much up. So what are we waiting for? That doesn't make any sense to me that we're going to send it next week. Get your finger out and get it done now. What type of player would we be getting in Barcola? One that has lightning pace, one that absolutely knows where the goal is, albeit I would say probably needs 2 chances to score one, but still, we'll get plenty. But what I don't know is how he's going to acclimatise to the Premier League. I think he'll be fine. I'm absolutely certain at this point he's going to operate more off the left-hand side for us, and it'll be Rio that shifts across to the right. But we're getting a really good player, somebody with plenty of experience, but yet the potential to continue to grow and get better. And the potential to, again, be at Liverpool for the next potentially 7 or 8 years easily. David Coughlin, how are you, David? Says, the only problem I see with BARCOLA is his finishing. I agree, but look, ultimately, mate, if he could finish and he was like a lethal finisher, he's probably a 200 million quid player at that point and probably isn't in our purview. So what I'm hoping is that Iriola feels like he's a player with obviously a lot of calibre that he can add a bit more to and that he can add a bit more versatility to. You know, I do think we're going to see a bit of exchanging of positions from the wide players this season. But defending is going to be important for them as well, especially in the way that we're looking to press under Iriola. So we're going to have our wide players willing to buy into that philosophy as well. Craig, surely Araujo is our main centre-back all season while Xhaka will be his backup, plus Araujo has that late-stage UCL game sense. I mean, I don't know, because you've bought Xhaka and you've done it in advance, and yes, he hasn't had much of a pre-season, but I can't see a world where Liverpool drop 60 million quid on Xhaka and don't think he's a player for the here and now. So that's why I'm asking the question, because I think it's an interesting thought exercise. Initially, my brain said 100% Xhaka, but as the days have gone on, I'm wondering, maybe Araujo starts, and if Araujo starts and he does okay, is he going to keep the position, and then we'll see Xhaka eased in? So truth is, I don't know, but that's why I wanted to ask the poll question. Bricktop said, I hate the way the trolls affect you mentally, but the way that you tear them apart is golden. And I'm sure the way you handle them gives inspiration to people who suffer and struggle with online bullies. So how I deal with trolls usually depends on a couple of things. It depends on if I want to play with them or not. And then sometimes people think I get baited by things, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Sometimes I need to vent. And I don't ever want to do it to people who I actually respect and people whose opinion that I value and want to be part of our community. So sometimes I'll see something and I'll go, you're getting it, because I need to vent. Sometimes they get in my head, occasionally. They are, because, being an autistic person, sometimes these things get stuck in your head and they go round and round. But ultimately, they're never going to break me, because I've been through stuff in my life that I wouldn't wish on anybody, and I'm still here. And it's a lot worse than them calling me fat or bald or Uncle Fester or whatever. So, yeah, leave them to it. But I need to try to be better at not biting. That much I just need to, because it ruins the flow of the show as well. But thank you, Bricktop, man. Appreciate you. You're an absolute legend, mate. Thank you. Robbie Brown said, due to the potential fee, the public opinion is swayed to overrated. However, we're getting a top player, profile, etc. The saga has made fans fatigue, but let's get excited for it again. I think that's a really good comment, Robbie. We are. And look, I'll also just add a little bit to what you've said, Robbie, and say that it's the going rate, isn't it? We're definitely fatigued. Oh, God, mate, we're definitely fatigued. I think that's the right word. But yeah, we just want the release. I think that's what it is at this point. We just want that release, because we haven't had a big transfer this summer. And this is the one, we're waiting for that Salah replacement level player, the marquee signing. And yeah, this one at this point, it feels unnecessarily dragged out as well. So yeah, I hope we get it soon, Robbie. I think you're right. We are getting a good player. And it's not somebody that we just looked at this year. We've been talking and looking at BARCOLA now for at least a couple of seasons. What does annoy me about it, Robbie, a little bit is last summer we could have had him at £75 million. And the question that I would like to pose if I could sit down and talk to Richard Hughes is, how is it that this summer there's no concern about Bradley BARCOLA blocking the pathway for Rio, whereas last summer that was the excuse given for not pursuing the deal at £75 million? Because again, logically looking at it as a fan, Salah's coming winding down. You probably have an inkling behind the scenes that he isn't happy or whatever, or, you may need to there. And if there was a chance to get BARCOLA, I think you should have taken it at 75 million, especially if you know that your interest is going to still be there and it may lead to you coming back next summer. Because that indecision or that unwillingness to act has cost us about £50 million, there or thereabouts. And that isn't clever for a club that like to profess they make every penny count. So, yeah, that's what baffles me, is the excuse for last year was he'll block the pathway for Rio, and now all of a sudden that's not an issue. So, yeah, that's what does my head in, because you've often heard me come on, Robbie, and say the thing, this is the excuse, but that's what it is. It is an excuse. And they can dress up excuses however they want. Ultimately, they're excuses. And it's not clever. So I can point out 100 million quid's worth of mistakes that the club have made in the last 3 years. And that's 100 million quid, whatever way you look at it, worth of savings or money left on the table. And for a club that professes to be so self-sustaining, those two things don't really add up to me. But thank you, Robbie, again, man. Appreciate you. Curtis said, trolls are just Craig curious. Keep up the good work. That, and they love a sniff of the old jocks, mate. They love a sniff of the old jocks, and I'm working on a special batch for them at the minute. Videos have been looking crisp and clear. New camera. Oh, thank God you said that, mate. Oh, you've made my day. You've made my day, Muldor. So, do you remember the other night I came in and I was late? I was late by about 15 minutes, and I came in like an antichrist. And I came in cranky, and I came in hot, and I apologised, and I had a horrible stream, and I didn't like it. It was all because of the camera. So we bought a new lens, and the lens is to give us a slightly wider shot. But there was something about this particular camera that no matter what we did, I looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost. And it was really getting to me because I'm self-conscious anyway, and I knew what was coming. And then I came into the chat and I got, you look like Uncle Fester. And I thought, oh, that's the very thing I was thinking, and I didn't want that to happen. So Connor was very kind, let me vent as he always does. And then we got to work the next day and spent a couple of hours trying to figure it out. And with the help of, a bit of research, bit of AI and Connor's technical know-how, yeah, I think we figured it out. And I'm very relieved about it, because I think I look like a normal human being now. I always look so much paler than I am in real life. And yeah, so thank you for making my evening, mate, with that comment. You really have. 195 Chrysler said, what bothers me is we always seem to sell cheap but buy high. Take, for instance, Gakpo. BARCOLA is €140 million, then Gakpo is at least £100 million, given length of contract compared to BARCOLA. So, a couple of things that will come into this equation. So you've got to look at the age as well. Cody Gakpo is now in his prime, probably at the tail end of his prime. Probably a year or two left in his prime. So you have to look at that, and you have to look at the buying club's potential there for the future. You also have to look at it and go, it's Cody Gakpo. He's not a super... he's a good pro, a solid pro, but is he going to move a needle for a club, really? I don't know. And I would sort of disagree about us selling cheap. I think we sell cheap when the contractual situation means we have to sell cheap, like Curtis Jones. But look at some of the other money we've gotten over the years. I think we have gotten decent transfer fees for players who are at that point of their career. And £70 million for Cody Gakpo, I mean, I think that's all right, And I think with BARCOLA, you're buying a 23-year-old, back-to-back Champions League winner, who is right now doing it at the top level, whether it's at the World Cup with France, whether it's with PSG. So I would expect there to be a gap there in valuation. Plus, Liverpool have the future with him. He's 23 now. So he's got, let's say 8 years minimum left. So if Liverpool kept him for 3 years and sold him, and I'm not suggesting we do that, he's going to be 26, 27 then. You could easily see if a Real Madrid or somebody came in the future, him being £150 million player. So, and it's a seller's market. So, look, I don't want to be arguing or anything, but I think we do all right with sales for players that we move on to have 2 years or more on their deal. It's the ones that get down to 1 year that wind me up, like the Jones situation, like the Kelleher situation. That pisses me off because that's money left on the table. Mark said, if you get the feeling the Dutch players are not happy, this might be VVD's last season, I will cash in on Gravenberch and Gakpo, try and keep Maka. I don't know if the Dutch contingent, if it's in any way connected with Slot, or I don't know, because none of them were brought in by him outside of Frimpong. So it's not like they came into play for that manager. But look, VVD's got a year to go. So whatever happens with him, I don't think we're going to see an extension there unless he has an exceptional season. Gravenberch being extended at least lets us know if we ever do sell him, we're going to get top dollar there because he's looked after contractually. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to hear from them. This is what I'm saying. This is why I love to be able to ask honest questions of players rather than the stupid shit that we see in press conferences where, they're asked things that nobody gives a shit about really, but you're not allowed to ask difficult questions or questions that people actually like the answer to. Of all of them, it's always felt like since Slot got fired, the likeliest one to go was Gakpo. If you go back all the way to the end of last season, to the start of the summer, there was so much stuff around Cody Gakpo and a potential move away coming around even then. And it was just hypothetical at that point. Oh, thank you, Ian. I know you were looking out for me earlier on, mate. Thank you. Appreciate that one. And thank you so much, mate, for 33 months. You did that just because I'm Irish, didn't you? 33 and all that jazz, mate. Appreciate you, though, Eno. Does Bezos' cash make the league for Liverpool again? Well, no, we still have to. We still have to work with the anchoring or whatever it is, the squad ratio thing. I mean, I'm getting confused and trying to keep up every year with this stuff, but you have the two thresholds, the 70% and 85%. 85% maximum expenditure, I believe, is for the Champions League, and the 70%, or excuse me, is for the Premier League, and the 70% is for the Champions League. But again, I'm not a football finance guy, so what I would say is, if I'm thinking initially about how Bezos can get money Liverpool's way, let's talk about what Mo Chatra said the other day. Liverpool have two big sponsorship deals coming up in the next 12 months. The front of shirt deal and the sleeve deal. So Manchester City went to war with the Premier League over associated party transactions. And they won their case, which meant that Etihad Airlines could give them 100 million quid a year. Now, there's nothing to say that Amazon, as an example, couldn't then come in and go, okay, well, if Manchester City's shirt sponsorship deal is worth £100 million a season, so's Liverpool's. So Liverpool can then go, okay, well, a £100 million deal with Amazon to be the front of shirt sponsor. And then they could say, okay, let's do something on the arm. And I'm just putting this out there because one of the other companies I know he owns, but let's say IMDb wanted to sponsor Liverpool shirts. Bezos owns that. Maybe Twitch comes in. Maybe you look at the Amazon side of it. Maybe Twitch become a sponsor. Maybe Twitch do some type of premium Liverpool content. There's definitely ways that they'll be able to increase Liverpool's financial wherewithal and the means that we bring in money. And that's probably what will lead to Liverpool being able to spend. So it won't be Bezos going, here's 150 million quid to go and buy Kylian Mbappe. It will be more a case of, well, let's help Liverpool on the books, and that will then let Liverpool to access the market. Because there's never been an issue for us being able to get our hands on money, or that we have restraints around it. But if we want to play longer term and keep moving money around, these are the smart plays, stuff like that. So that's what I would expect. But again, look at the likes of a Mo Chatra, a Swiss Ramble. These are the type of guys I'd be looking at for any football finance stuff if I was a fan. What's your prediction for BARCOLA in the Prem? Goals and assists, you said, sorry. I don't know. It's really difficult to make a guess in year one without knowing how quickly he'll be assimilated into the squad, let's say. How about I give you what I'd be happy with in year one for BARCOLA? 15 goals and, I don't know, 12 assists, 8-12 assists. So 12 to 15 goals, 8 to 12 assists. But again, I'm always somebody that doesn't actually care who scores the goals. I just want Liverpool to win games of football. And whoever scores, scores. And obviously, it's important for us, but I want the goals to be shared around because it felt like at times in the past it was get the ball, give it to Mo, he'll make it happen. But now somebody else has to step up, and I'm expecting a big season from Szoboszlai. I'm expecting Wirtz to step up and chip in with a lot more. Isak, well, you're going to have to start paying back the £125 million that Liverpool paid for you there. So you'd expect him to step up and, take the big bird. I guess the real question would be, who's going to be Liverpool's top scorer in the Premier League this season? I mean, it's probably Isak, right? But after that, who else is going to chip in with a considerable amount? Bezos could buy Real Madrid. Bezos could buy every football club, every top 10 football club on the planet. No joke. He's worth 220 something billion. So he could buy Liverpool, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, all of them. That's the level of money this man has, which is kind of insane when you think about it. But, that's the way of the world, isn't it, these days? David, how are you, David? Said, maybe bad shout, but what about Cancelo in Saudi for right back and left back? 1 year left on his deal, older compared to the fullbacks we have. So, for me, that would be a non-homegrown spot that Liverpool would have to give up, and I just don't see that one being a sensible thing to give up for a backup fullback. So that's why I was, open to a Neco Williams type thing, or Jed Spence, who, by the way, has gone to Inter Milan. That deal was confirmed earlier on. So, yeah, I don't think the backup right back or the right back that we may bring in at this moment in time, it would be sensible to make that a player who would have to take up an overseas place in the squad. Roshi, how are you, my friend? Instead of identifying value talent, we seem to just pay the asking price and hope for the best. Do we have scouts? Not my money, but it seems short-sighted. So what I would say is it looks as if we are making a lot of moves for younger players, right? And you've seen Premier League clubs in recent years, Roshi, really step up their efforts to bring in top underage players. Look at Ndokwo, the kid from Colombia, the attacking midfielder Martinez, and a few others that Liverpool have. So I think we are doing it, but the difference between Liverpool, let's say, and a Brighton is Liverpool don't really have the ability to take as many gambles anymore if we want to be constantly in the Champions League, because the pressure's there. The Premier League's really competitive. And in, let's say, La Liga, Barcelona and Real Madrid can probably coast through some games and rotate the teams a lot more. We've seen lots of times in the Premier League that if you're not fully at it, if you're not at the races in every game, surprises can come about quickly. So the pressure on managers makes it more difficult to, and not impossible, but more difficult to kind of nurture players through unless they're coming through the system. But I want to just ask you a different question, actually, if I may. It was a good point somebody made earlier on, and I don't know if I read it in the Echo comment section or somewhere else, but somebody asked a question that I've never really thought of before. Is there an issue at underage level for Liverpool with players who then come towards the first team? Because if you think about the amount of players who've had injuries recently that are in that 16 to 20 age bracket, there's been quite a few, right? Jadon Dance has had his injury struggles. Stefan Bajcetic has had his injury struggles. I think Will Wright had an injury, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And then we had other players like Cade Gordon, who never really managed to make the breakthrough. And it was never something I really thought about before until somebody mentioned it earlier on today, and it just kind of jumped into my head, and I thought, I must remember to ask the chat that this evening. It certainly made for, an interesting thought exercise to sit there and think, shit, is there something to this? Because there has been a few in recent times, right, that have initially maybe made a step in, looked promising, and then the body starts to break down. So sometimes it could be a simple thing like growing pains or shin splints or, things like that growth spurts happen. But it seems to be happening quite a bit to us. Craig, where are we getting 70 plus goals from to qualify for the Champions League next season? It's roughly a point a goal. Well, you've got Isak, who should be right at the top of the goal scoring chart somewhere this season. BARCOLA will chip in with his. Rio will step in. Ekitike when he comes back. You want more goals from midfield. You want Wirtz to step in with a few. So, we don't know what Victor Munoz is going to do really, so I'm not really sure what to expect from him, but, that's roughly where I expect him to be coming from. James said, I think it's just growing and stepping up levels. You might be, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm certainly open-minded to that one, James, but I don't know. But with Jayden Danns, it feels particularly unfortunate because I think this summer would have been a great summer if Jayden Danns could have been able to really show what he can do to Iriola in pre-season over in the United States. Gakpo got the most opportunity to make a mark by slot with the left wing, centre forward, and made a met of those opportunities. He's worth 50 million and Spurs will find that out. Look, Gakpo's the type of player that I would put in the category of a Curtis Jones, in that if he stays, no problem. If he goes, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. As long as he's replaced. That's where I view. There's certainly players that are untouchables in your squad or in your mind. And then there are players that, without being crass about it, have a number. And a number that you'll do business at. And part of, like, we all looked at the wages Cody Gakpo was getting when Liverpool renewed his deal and thought, that feels a bit high, that. But then somebody said to me, well, maybe they're protecting his value. Maybe they know something's coming down the line. And if that was the case, maybe it works out longer term. But yeah, I won't lose any sleep if he leaves, nor if he stays, I'll be equally fine about it either way. Yeah, the one that's annoying me the most this summer is Curtis Jones. That's the one that's annoying me because I'd love to know the ins and outs of why a deal has never really been possible between Liverpool and Curtis Jones over an extension. Because you couldn't imagine a world where Inter Milan are going to give him more money than Liverpool. I just don't believe that that's going to happen. So it has to be either that he just doesn't feel he's ever going to get the game time at Liverpool that he wants at this stage of his career, or maybe he just wants something new and he doesn't want to play for another Premier League club. So if he's leaving, he likes the opportunity maybe to go and try a new league. This report coming from Mundo Deportivo said Barcelona could allow Jules Koundé to leave if a suitable offer arrives before the transfer window closes. Arsenal, Manchester City and Liverpool are among the clubs linked with the 27-year-old defender. Koundé made 47 appearances for Barcelona last season, and a summer exit cannot be ruled out. But his name has been one that's been kind of bandied around as being a possible option this summer. And I've always said to you, I would have loved Koundé. I think the age profile, the versatility of him, because he is a fullback a centre back who can play a right back. I'm not having that Araujo nonsense. He's a centre back. Just because he's a right-sided centre back doesn't necessarily mean he can play fullback, but Koundé can. So that'll be an interesting one. Yeah, no idea if anything comes of it with Liverpool or not, but it is an interesting one. The problem with Jones is that he thinks he's good, he's not. So if one comment that I seem to see quite a bit around Curtis Jones is he's going to find out what it's like when you're not mollycoddled when he leaves Liverpool. That's one comment, whether it's fair or unfair, that I've seen come up quite a bit with people. Yeah, it's hard to know because I never want to knock somebody for having confidence, because having confidence is part of what gets you to that level. And Curtis Jones playing that level of football, I'll never see or experience, so it's not fair for me to sit here and say he's arrogant or anything, but I just don't think he's good enough to dictate a regular starting place in the team. Happy to have him as a squad player, but I kind of look at him like I looked at Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Who's he pushing out? What position is he nailing down as his when you talk about the best 11? And I've never seen it for him. Grim Reaper said we could go get Koundé, but the man needs to change his clothing style. Look, I'm not going to start slagging anybody about clothes, dude. I just live in Adidas stuff, so I'm not going to be here casting aspersions. I'll tell you one thing though. There was a few photographs of Florian Wirtz when the preseason tour of America was over, where he was around a few places, and I thought, I don't know about that, Flo. I mean, some of them jeans and truckers' hats, they were a bit weird. Daniel Thank you, my friend. Said studio looking on point, my man. Thanks for all that you do. Appreciate you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you to all of you guys, as always, for your support. Without you guys, there isn't a show. Which saga is worse, Isak or BARCOLA? So I'm going to say I enjoyed the Isak one far more, because the Isak one got bitter between, journos, Liverpool fans, Newcastle fans, Liverpool fans, content creators and Newcastle fans. So that one was fun. And the shithouse in me was very much satisfied with the Isak situation. But I never felt the confidence levels I've been getting around this one. Because with Newcastle, they always profess to say they aren't selling him. And they didn't want to sell him. And you could look at it and think, well, that's probably right. But with PSG, they can't really make that argument around the situation with him. So it's always been logical that with the players they're looking to bring in, him having 2 years on his contract and no conversations over a new one, it's logical to think that there's a number that gets him out the door. So I've always been really calm about that, because it's been met with a lot of confidence by people I've spoken to. So yeah, that one, the Isak one, definitely felt more of a saga, but also way more fun. That was, the whole Luke Edwards stuff and all last year. I mean, honestly, that was I enjoyed that so much. My inner shithouse absolutely enjoyed that. Sorry, I just need to turn this fan on here. It's getting a bit warm. Already had Ekitike, so the Isak one was fun. BARCOLA has been dreadful because it's an overpaying. The club ripped up Mo's contract. I'll never understand the ripping up of Mo's contract part. Was it Ben that said that one? Yeah, Ben. I'll never understand that, because why would you do that to yourself more than anything? This is what I don't get. For the brain trust, the geniuses, the data-led super Avengers, why do that? Or at least why make it public knowledge? Like, fair enough, if you want to agree with Mo, shake hands and say at the end of the season you can go, but we don't talk about it. Let us go and get your replacement. That's the part that, again, just baffles me, how that happened. Craig, shout out to Ian Mikado, Gary. Yes, so I don't really watch much UFC stuff, but I'll be tuning in to watch that fight later on. I actually have a signed Ian Gary UFC glove that I have framed up, ready to go in my living room, along with a few other bits and pieces. So yeah, definitely going to be keeping an eye on that one. And also, I want to just let you guys know as well, the young MMA fighter that we sponsor, he's heading off to the World Championships during the week. So, I'll be asking you guys to keep Adam in your thoughts. And do keep an eye. If you want to watch the World Championships, I think you can find them online. And, we want Adam to bring back the gold. And then I know he's got some big opportunities coming. There's a potential world title fight coming up from over in the UK at the start of 2027. And I can't wait. I can't wait for you guys to follow his career as well, because this dude he's special, this young man. He's truly, truly special. There aren't many people I've ever met at his age with the focus, determination, and skill level and work rate to back it up. So keep him in your thoughts anyway. Just here. How are you, mate? Said, Craig, we need another striker. We're very short up top. We've 2 weeks of the transfer window left. What are Liverpool doing? We always leave it too late. I don't sign anyone at all. So I think we're probably going to have to agree to disagree on the striker thing. Of course, I can understand where you're coming from. But for me, that's a long-term solution to a short-term problem. And I don't like doing that. Because if you brought in another striker, let's say, what happens when Ekitike is back fit? There aren't many top clubs that carry 3 strikers in them. So I've never really felt we do need it. That's why I've loved the wording of versatile forward that was thrown around a few times when the likes of Ferran Torres' name was mentioned. That would make sense. Somebody who can play central, but can also play out wide if needs be, or play a little bit deeper. So yeah, I wouldn't, if I was in Liverpool's shoes right now, I wouldn't be buying a striker. That's all I can say to you. I'm probably on my own with this, but I think we can. I think if we sign BARCOLA, we'll end up regretting a big style Nunes 2.0. Said Harris Ali. I don't know, bro. I don't think any of us can say categorically how it will or won't work out. Truth is, I don't think we all know. But I'd like the chance to find out. I really would. Sorry, one sec. I just got a message through I need to check. Cool. Gakpo's starting left wing and striker back up in my head, said Ben. Well, if he goes, then I guess the striker backup option's out the window. And that's what I said. It's just so unfortunate that Jayden Danns couldn't prove his fitness, because this could have been a great opportunity for Jayden Danns to even come on, let's say, come on for Isak at 65, 70 minutes to start getting 20 minutes that way and building it up a little bit. I don't think Will Wright is ready yet. As much as, again, he looks like a promising young striker, I think he's maybe a year or so off being ready. Joshua Abe, again, isn't ready either. So, you know, a little bit of time for him to develop as well. Craig, C. Fabrizio apparently is finished. I'm not sure if you're referring to his, I think it was a LinkedIn post that said that after the transfer window, he's going in a new direction or something. I don't know. I don't know, honestly. Like, I don't want to get into a Fabrizio Romano rant again, so let's just wait and see what happens with it. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say, because I don't like to talk bad of anybody. So I'm definitely going to be intrigued to see what does happen next from where he goes. I read a very interesting piece in the Daily Mail yesterday about him, which I was telling you guys about. But yeah, let's wait and see. Mange Duvet said, talking we need a midfielder or forward is, for me, nonsense. We have Nioni and Kumas looking sharp. Give him a chance. I love your thinking. And if you think, if you go back to the streams a few days ago, I said if Curtis Jones leave, I don't think we've any need to fill those minutes, because I want them to go to trainee only. And I agree on Kumas. I think I'd rather Kumas, and the chat did as well, because we put it to a poll. We said we'd rather Kumas than Chiesa. And what's really been impressive for me about Kumas has been, one, the desire and work rate, the defensive side of his game. But unfortunately, I think he's going to go out on loan this season. But I don't disagree. I think what you've said there makes sense. It's more a profile of midfielder issue, I think, for us, rather than just another body. Like, as much as we think Trainee only is a promising player, would we be ready to put him in the Champions League semi-final against a Paris Saint-Germain, a Real Madrid? Probably not. And it'd probably be unfair to expect him to do that at that age either. So best to nurture him a little bit and bring in somebody else there for the here and now. Because even if we did bring in an out-and-out DM, you could easily make a case that, well, we're going to need to rotate between those two anyway over the course of a season. And give Trey the minutes at a time that works rather than out of necessity, is what I would say anyway. Nath, Craig, do you know you're untouchable when it comes to YouTube and life? I love and respect you. Thank you, my friend. There's nothing to be overawed about. I'm a normal dude. See me on the street, come up and say hello. I'm a normal fella, normal life, normal family. Just loves me football, and very fortunate to have the great community we have here. Do you know what players are playing in what game tomorrow? I don't, Damon. No, I would expect the stronger team in the later game, but that is a guess. I don't know, mate. I've no idea what to expect. L Dodge said, not knocking Kumas or Nioni, but would rather see them in a proper run of games rather than friendlies to see if they're ready to step up. I think that's fair. And also with senior players in and around him. And, you know, if you're putting Nioni in, you'd want him in with 10 regular players that play serious minutes for Liverpool, and not a 45-minute second half, much changed team on a shit pitch over in America. Cy Butler said, how does PSG value BARCOLA at £140 million, saying he's Champions League winner, but bringing Ferran Torres, a World Cup scorer and winner, at 50 million? So there is a little bit more to the Ferran Torres thing. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm open to correction on it, I think he had 1 year to go on his Barca deal. And after that, they also had to pay, if they extended Ferran Torres, I think there was a €9 million payment in there that Barcelona had to make to Manchester City as part of the initial agreement. So that, I think, sorts out that side of it. But then you look at Barcola, and respectfully, he's a much better footballer than Ferran Torres. Much better. And the wide player market's an expensive one. You know, like, I'm not saying you have to agree with what I'm saying, but look at the market and tell me where the wide player is that is good enough to come in, ready to come in, and is less money. I really don't see one. Yancuba Minta is injured. That's off the table. Fernandez Pardo, we've not really seen anything of. Said El Mala, again, nope, nothing. Bouzamana Touré's gone elsewhere. Diamonde's gone elsewhere. Rayan isn't achievable this summer. So it's just, I think that's it. I think that's what we need, and we have to get it done. And I understand why PSG are asking what they're asking. Like every other Liverpool fan on the planet, I want Liverpool to get the best deal possible. But, you know, the price is what the price is. Rachel said the first match is behind closed doors. It is, but that's just from a fan perspective, Rachel. I believe it's still on LFC TV. Just here said, I love your passion for Liverpool, Craig. Looking forward to seeing how we play and get the excitement back. Yeah, same. Like, it is almost weird. Like, this feels like a particularly long summer between the World Cup and everything else. Like, I feel like we've been without Liverpool action properly for ages. So, yeah, really excited to be trending back towards the start of the Prem. Tomorrow's the last chance we get in pre-season to put these guys through their paces before the league kicks off against Newcastle. So, here's hoping that we get a good performance tomorrow. Hopefully a win in front of a packed Anfield, and we look sharp and ready to go for next weekend, because I'm buzzing for the season ahead. I can't wait to do the watch along tomorrow as well. Seen someone say 70 wasn't enough for Gakpo. He was crap last season. Engamo will be better, and Barcola and him can change. Look, I think we'll all have our own thoughts on the valuations of players. I just said a moment ago that I want Liverpool to pay as little as possible for any incoming players. Well, obviously I want Liverpool to get as much as possible for any outgoing players, but 70 million kind of feels about right for Gakpo to me. Rayan, Paul said, Rayan, Kudus, Willian, Gomez, Endrick would be good options. Well, Rayan isn't an option because he's not available. Kudus, I mean, for me, that would be a pass. Personally, that would be a no for me. Williams, there is a release clause there. So that's a doable deal for somebody who can convince the player. And what was the other one? Endrick, well, he's staying at Real Madrid, so I don't think that's an option any longer. That's the lay of the land. Like, I mean, I'd say Elise. Like, if I wanted to go into dream territory, Elise is the one. You know, he's always been the one that I've thought, ooh, this could line up for Mohamed Salah. When he signed his 2-year extension, Salah, I thought, right, that means when he leaves, Elise is 25, and he may have had 3 years at that point at Bayern Munich and may want something different. So I was secretly deep down hoping that would be the direction of travel after Salah leaves. Savinho from City is valued at 85, so 70 for Gakpo is cheap. Is he? I've not seen 85 for him, Bradley. I'm not saying you're wrong, my man. Genuinely, all I've seen for Savinho is 70. And he's not worth that either, by the way. Because what the fuck has he done to justify a 75 million pound price tag? Like, he's done diddly squat at Manchester City to justify that. Thank you, Bilal. Appreciate you, my man. Hope you're well. Nusa's an interesting one. Definitely. I think the thing about Nusa that I always tried to say was, if you're RB Leipzig, you don't want to lose your two wingers in one window. So they've lost Diamonde. They don't want to lose Nusa in one window. But I like Nusa. I like his versatility as well. And certainly he would have been a far more palatable price But with the options that's available to us at the minute, I think BARCOLA is probably the best we can hope for. Sancho, free agent, knows it's his last chance. No, not for me. Not because of the footballing side alone. The other stuff, the late for training stuff. No, would be for me on Sancho. Kubo is a good option. Is he? Again, sorry if that sounds rude. Sometimes I can be a bit blunt. Kubo's not good enough, and seems to have had a few injuries, and I think it's about 28, if I'm not mistaken. Takefusa Kubo. Might be wrong on his age. Could be completely... No, I'm thinking of... Sorry. I am wrong on his age. I'm thinking of the guy that's at Brighton. But Kubo is one of them players that has always been linked with a move away from Sociedad to somewhere Champions League-esque, but nobody ever really pulls the trigger or goes after him. Thanks for mentioning me. I hope we get BARCOLA. Always try, Bilal. Always try to say hello to as many people as I can, sir. Craig William plays for Porto. Sorry, William Gomez. I thought you said Williams. I just thought you forgot the S on the end of it. My apologies, Paul. William Gomez plays for Porto. He's a Brazilian and most like player to Salah. I don't know anything about him, Paul, but sorry, mate. I assumed, and I assumed wrong. That's on me. Will there be a late night video after the live stream? Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I'll be putting out a video when I finish the stream. I'm finishing the stream in about half an hour, and then I'll be throwing out a video. What else we got? We need Wharton. He has magic passing. He's certainly somebody who I could understand us going for. I feel, weirdly though, it was almost talked about as nearly a given if Arne Slot was staying, that Wharton was going to be the midfield player we moved for. Then things went really quiet, and then he had a little niggle and an injury through pre-season as well. So it's not even like there were many clubs in for Wharton at that point, because I don't think he was able to pass a medical, and people had to wait for him to get back to fitness. So I'm dubious on the midfielder. That's the position right now I look at and think, I don't know. As much as I'd love it, and I hope I'm wrong, I struggle to see the outlay financially for Liverpool to bring in two forwards, a midfielder, and just sell Jones and Gakpo for a combined 100 million quid, and then spend 120, 160, 195, 255, 260. I just don't see that happening with Liverpool. And that's actually, I don't think I even put in there the money for Xhaka. How many injuries do we have before Jay Spearing gets a chance? Hopefully there isn't a number. Yeah, hopefully there just isn't a number. Nobody wants Maka, said Debs. So my reading of that situation, Debs, is that Liverpool would have absolutely sold him this summer if an offer came in at around the £80 million mark. And maybe they expected that offer to come in from Madrid. I don't think Liverpool would have had much of an appetite to sell him to Man City unless it was for stupid money, because then you're strengthening a rival. But if Madrid or Atletico Madrid came in and the numbers were right, would have been a willing seller, because the contractual situation and a few other things. But it seems like nobody's come to the table with the offer. So he's a Liverpool player, and I'm happy he's here. Is Craig doing both games tomorrow or just one? I'm doing the second game. Connor's doing the early game. So Connor will be here for the... Because let's be honest, we all know I'm not doing an 11 a.m. start for a 11:30 game. So Connor will be here for the early one, and then I'm here for the 6 p.m. game. So I'll be starting that watch along at 5 o'clock. Craig, one question people have brought up is the end of your streams cut off before you actually finished every stream. That's weird, because honestly, I say my last words, I say goodbye, and then I hit end stream. So Let me watch it back and have a look at it and see what is happening, because it's easier, obviously, if I have a look at it and see. I tend not to watch back my content because I don't like looking at myself, but I will look at it and just make sure. Lloyd said, so you don't think we saw another midfielder this window? Remember, Macca's legs are gone. Jones is finished, and physicality, number of games would be too much for Neoni. No, I didn't say I don't think we sign one. I said I'd be dubious if we don't sell somebody else. It's a money thing for me, not a need thing. We absolutely need a DM, 100%. But last summer, we spent £150 million net. And that summer was our big summer, right? So if we brought in Wharton, and if we only sold Gakpo and Jones, that would see us spend 180 to 200 million pound net. And that's the part that I struggle to see happening with Liverpool. But I'm not trying to argue in any which way that we don't need a DM. We absolutely do. Cool. So, okay. So, I will count to 5 after I say my goodbyes to you guys in the future. I'll count to 5 in my head, and then I'll hit the stream. Do you think it's Van Dijk's last season or not? At this moment in time, I would say it is. Because even the great Virgil won't go much past 36 at the level that we're playing. So I would suggest this is his last season with us. But, you know, if he has a good season, maybe the club roll it over. But at this point, I don't know of it to be a talking point. Do you think Liverpool will have an Amazon All or Nothing documentary soon now that Jeff Bezos bought a part of the club? You'd have to think probably yes. Yeah, you'd have to think so. Because, you know, they're obviously going to want some synergy there between his companies and whatnot. So, yeah, you'd imagine so. Something like that anyway. I saw somewhere in the news that Galatasaray and even Saudi clubs could be interested in Maka. Would you sell late in the window if an offer came in? Would I? So I don't want to wish Maka away because I like Alexis McAllister. If we brought in Wharton, and it's not, yeah, I would sell. If the club wanted to sell, I wouldn't be bothered by it, because we have enough bodies in the centre of midfield. It's about making sure we have the right type of players. And greedy me would like to keep Maka and get Wharton in and have Neoni. That, you know, greedy me wants Liverpool to have as many options as possible. But if Liverpool got an offer, I mean, I wouldn't imagine Maka would want to go to Saudi at 28. I mean, I'd be very surprised at that. Grizzly, thank you, bro, for gifting 5 memberships. Absolute gentleman, sir. Thank you. See, Paul, you're trying to troll me and you can't even string a sentence together, bro. You're looking for the bullshitter in chief, Paul. In chief. Not and chief, in chief. So, again, Paul, Uncle Craig's here to help, bro. Leave it to the adults in the room. I don't know why she hurt you and why she left you, Paul, but we're here for you. Just know that. We're here to give you a big virtual hug, mate. The bullshitter in chief is here to give you a big hug. And an extra bonus sniff of the jocks if you'd like them. Where do you see us finishing in the league? Plus, I see us fighting for silverware. Opta has us to finish 3rd. Also, we should try to fix our set piece weakness. Lots of questions in there, Lloyd. I think 3rd feels about right. 3rd or 4th, somewhere around that does feel about right as a guess. The thing that concerns me with the set piece stuff as well is it was an issue for him at Bournemouth as much as it's still an issue for us. So yeah. Paddy Wacker, you don't need to. I don't think you're moaning at all, mate. You were just making a genuine observation, and I've always told you guys, any honest feedback like that is very welcome. So if the stream's cutting off a bit early, I'd like to know about it. So you let me know about it, and I appreciate that. There's certainly I don't think you're moaning around like that. I know you well enough at this point. When's the Champions League draw? I think obviously the final knockout stage games or qualification games have to take place. I think I've seen somewhere late next week, but don't quote me on that one. I read an article about it the other day, but my dumb ass can't remember at the minute. Craig, why do you think Romano is stepping away? I wouldn't have a clue where to even start. I mean, I'd be kind of dubious that he is stepping away, to be honest with you, because without knowing the man, and I don't, what's the obvious pivot as an example? Like for me, if I stepped away from this, I could make a pivot into boxing because I like boxing, I know boxing, I talk about boxing. That would be an easy pivot for me. I don't know for him because his whole shtick is built up around transfers and, you know, putting a lot of news out there and churning it and making his money that way. So honestly, I don't have a clue what way he goes, where he goes, what he does. But I'm very dubious that he steps away from football. I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing. It almost feels like there's going to be a bait and switch in there. So he's stepping away, but it's not a big a step away as it seems initially, or it's a segue into something a bit more. Is he going to become an agent, something like that? Or maybe he's starting to get stonewalled a bit more by clubs because there's a report again the other day that says some clubs won't even speak with him about stuff now. Why is it that a lot of United fans, that's the only word they seem to know, is either United or United? Well done, dude. You know how to spell Manchester United or United. Good for you. Anything we'd like to add to the chat? Because we welcome in Manchester United fans all the time, and we've, plenty that come in and watch the stream on a regular. But it's, United. Yay! You forgot to say United 2, AC Milan 4. I think that's what you were trying to say, was it? United 2, AC Milan 4 in the Ruben Amorim derby. Am I the only one that doesn't understand the word Romano saying speak so fast? I don't watch him. I only see the writing, the black and white stuff, the quotes from him. I've never in my life watched 5 seconds of a Fabrizio Romano thing that I'm aware of. I just see his posts and I see people quoting them. I don't actually watch anything of him because I don't like him. Yeah, so I don't really, yeah. I'm not like some of these people that troll me that hate me but are always there. If I don't like somebody, I tend to take what I need from the comment side of it that I need for the streams. But after that, I don't want to add to his wealth in any way, shape or form. Who's your favourite player currently in our squad? Oh, love that question, Daniel. Who's my favourite player currently in the squad? I'm probably going to say Hugo Ekitike because I love me a bit of a showman. I love Bobby Firmino. Bobby Firmino was everything to me, just ultimate footballer. And I like a bit of swag, and I like a sharp dresser and a bit of an outlier. So I'm going to say Hugo Ekitike because I've really enjoyed everything he's brought to the club since he's come in. I love Virgil as a captain. I love Virgil as a leader. I'm not actually that big of him as a captain, but I love him as a leader. Great player, a transformational player for us. Alisson, again, the same thing. It's probably between Alisson and Hugo Ekitike for me. Because as a former goalkeeper, I look at Alisson in a godly fashion. Like, he's the best goalkeeper I've seen in my lifetime in a Liverpool shirt. And he's just Mr. Consistency. So I love him. I've loved Firmino to bits. It's probably Ekitike, you know. Soboslai's up there as well. Who doesn't love a bit of Dom? But yeah, I like somebody who's a bit of a contrarian, a little bit different, and I like Hugo Ekitike's sense of humor as well. Are still people? Is there still people trying to bang the drum for Raphael in the chat? Oh, surely we've moved past that one, folks. Yeah, Raphael was never a realistic one for me because he's just not consistent enough. Dylan said, I love Tottenham. Welcome in, Dylan. Nice to see you, my man. I think you're probably in for a good season this year, bro. Really impressed with the business that you've done. De Zerbi will certainly get you playing better, and you were just so unfortunate with injuries last year. I definitely think Spurs are going to be up the other end of the league table this year. The signing of Tonali and Mateus Fernandes, just good business. So, yeah, welcome in. Nice to see you. And I don't want to wish you too well for the season ahead because, you know, I want to finish above you. Right, so the question that we asked you guys is, and we leave this poll up running for a couple more minutes, who plays more games this season at centre-back, Araujo or Xhaka? Itachi said, pick 3 players from the squad for a visit in a theme park. To go to a theme park with? Oh, okay. Definitely going with Frimpong. If I'm going to a theme park, Frimpong's coming because he's fucking mad as a box of frogs. I love him. Ekitike. Who'll be the third one I bring in? Probably Kirkes, you know. Probably Kirkes, because you get a mad day out of him as well, wouldn't you? Like, you know there's something strange is going to happen if Milos is around there. And I mean that in a complimentary way. So, Kirkes, Frimpong, and Ekitike, probably. Because that would be a fun day. I think we'd be guaranteed to have a laugh that day. If Robbo was still around, Robbo would have been in there as well, definitely. Hey Craig, I've seen some clips of you a couple of years ago, and you've been through a tough life, and we're all proud you've come this way with all this way with the hate. Thank you. You know, it is what it is. You know, life doesn't go the way you want it to all the time when you play the hand that you're dealt. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't change any of it because that's not true. You never want to see your parents pass away, but I'm grateful for the grounding it gave me. And the thing I will always say about the channel now, I wouldn't have been ready for this 10 years ago. I wouldn't have been emotionally able to do this 10 years ago. And I don't think the channel would have had the success I had if I started this at a younger age. I think life experience and knowing that I need the work rate, the effort, the hustle, I think that inspired me on a bit more as well. And obviously having a family and kids helps a lot and certainly keeps your focus. But then the goal was never for Anfield Agenda to become a job. It was purely out of an emotional connection with other fans that I needed. And the fact that to become a job it's still, I pinch myself, you know. I still say to my wife, this just feels wrong. This is my job. I'm so lucky to do this. And even on the days where I'm pissed off at life or, you know, it's an incredible privilege to do this. And, you know, you will find people better than me, but you won't find anybody that is more grateful for the support and the opportunities. And believe it or not, I'm quite a private guy. Like you don't see me on social media. I'm not out there showing you what I'm eating, where I'm going, because I'm at home with my family. I'm a boring dude who lives and breathes Liverpool and genuinely gets a huge sense of fulfillment out of doing this. So thank you for all of your kind words and all of your support. You know, without you showing me that kindness, I wouldn't have had the time to evolve and become a better person. And I'm still working on it. There's still days like the other day where I come in and I'm an asshole and I hate myself for it. But, you know, No, I don't want to get mushy. I don't want to get mushy again, but I love you guys to bits. I really, really do. And this is honestly a privilege to get to do. Anfield Road 8. Craig, love being in the chat. Hope you recognise me when I'm in. Of course, I do. Certainly do, mate. You're a busy man. Sorry, a bit late today. How long are we on for the rest of tonight? Only less than about 10 minutes to go this evening, mate. But I will have a news update video coming out afterwards. But no, man, I always appreciate seeing you in. I definitely recognise the account name at this point. Where are we at? Derek said, learn about Liverpool, watch you and following from age 8 and 46. Love your streams. Thank you so much, Derek. Yeah, so my journey with Liverpool started at age 8 as well. And I told this story before, but I started supporting Liverpool off the back of that 2-0 loss to Arsenal at Anfield for the old First Division title. That was the game that made me become a Liverpool fan. And as I've gotten a bit older, Derek, and obviously I've learned more about the history of the city of Liverpool, the emigration from Ireland across, it's just cemented my bond and my admiration for Scousers as people, because I see a lot of Irishness in there, a lot of pride in there, a lot of not just pride of their city and their roots, but a fighting streak and a spirit and an unwillingness to just accept bullshit. I love Scousers, love them, and their sense of humour is impeccable, and I will defend them forever because I hate the stereotypes, I hate the bullshit. It's not the Liverpool I know, it's not the people I know, and this football club, I know we're sometimes arrogant about it and we say it's different, but I think it is different. And I think maybe Manchester United can have a similar shout as well, but being part of Liverpool Football Club's family around the world is incredible. You know, to be a little part of your daily lives is incredible. To share this incredible opportunity with you guys. Like when we built the studio, I wasn't asked about showing Sabrina's family or friends. I wanted to show you. Every day I was thinking, we're getting closer now to showing them the studio. We're getting closer to showing what Anfield Agenda's community built and what their support built. Yeah, it's class. And even on the days where I am, struggling, and they will happen, the support, the love, it's incredible. I can only ever thank you for it. Also starting to fall in love with Hugo, funny guy. Some of his social media posts are so funny. Some of his clap back at some of the other players and stuff are just hilarious. Biggie Mal said, thing with you is that it feels like you're talking to us as opposed to talking at us. Excuse me, bro. That's come up quite a bit. And what I put that down to is probably twofold. I have a little bit of experience in pirate radio from my youth days, but I came into YouTube cold. So I seen clips of Mark Goldbridge, I'd seen clips of True Geordie, and I'd seen a few clips of YouTube, but I didn't know what a football YouTuber did. So for me, when I turned on the camera and we did our first live streams, it felt natural to interact. It felt natural to talk to people because that's my skill. I'm a people person. I can chat with people. So that, to me, like, my curious side wanted to know what you're thinking and sincerely wanted to know what you're thinking. I don't come on here to inform people because of a better knowledge of anything. I come on because I want to learn and I want us all to share experiences. I want to work through ideas. If I have a thought process, I want to challenge it and put it to you guys and get it back. But it's always in the case of we're all on the same level. I am nothing. I am a fella who just got a bit lucky and worked hard. But ultimately, I'm not a fucking analyst. I'm not a sports science guy. I'm a football fan. And I'll never get above my station in that regard because to do so would be everything I despise. I've seen some YouTuber football people that almost have a chip on their shoulder and a sense of entitlement about certain things. I've never felt that. I felt bitter about some stuff that we've been intentionally kept out of. But apart from that, we're all friends. That's the way I look at it. You come in every night and yet, obviously I do a bit of research and bring stuff to you and we chat about it. But It's always on the sense of, we're going to discuss this. And that's why I get defensive a bit when people say, oh, you said this, or your stream title said this, and they don't realise, or they intentionally don't want to admit it, that when I do my stream titles and all, it's not me saying these things are happening all the time. It's, these are the stories, let's talk about them. This is a report, let's talk about it. And if I have something that I'm saying is concrete or that is on me, I won't be backwards about coming forward and saying it. I'll come straight out and say, this is my information, this is what I believe is happening. But to say, like, what gets me is the people that say you've no sources, ketchup, all this shit. Like, just logically, do you not think doing this for 8 years and meeting the people that we have over that time and growing as we have over that time, that it's led to us meeting people, people coming our way at times to put information to us? It does happen. Whether people want to believe it or not, it does happen. But I take everything that I get told and put it through the ringer before I bring it to you. I challenge it, I look at it, I question it, I cross-reference it where I can. Because the last thing I ever want to do, and why I got so upset about the slot situation, was I didn't give a shit about being wrong. I gave a shit about hurting you. I gave a shit about feeling like I let you down because the slot situation, which I was right about in the long run, didn't happen in the time frame I was expecting. And the thought of letting you guys down haunted me so much that that's why I offered to resign. So to see the arseholes come in and say, are you going to have to resign again? Like, you're basically punishing me because I care in that regard. I could easily just do this and disappear and not give it a second thought. But that's not what this is about. This is a community, and I can only keep repeating that. It's a community, and that's what makes it different, and that's what makes it special to me. So if I feel like I let you down, you'll never beat me up worse than I'll beat me up. That's the only thing I'll say. And anyone that knows me will say that to you. I am my own worst critic, and I'm my own harshest taskmaster, because I only want to repay your faith, and I only want to make you proud, and I only want you to feel like you are a valued, important part of this journey with us, and your voice is heard. Because I came into this thinking there's plenty of Scouts voices, there's plenty of local Liverpool fans who will talk about the club. But over the course of time, doing podcasts, writing articles, doing a little bit, one common denominator kept coming up. And the common denominator that kept coming up was that some people felt disenfranchised and alienated and kept on the outside because they didn't have an accent or they weren't born in an L postcode. And I always was drawn to those type of people because I'm, in a way, one of them. And I've felt looked down my nose upon as a fan at times, or a second-class fan. So we wanted to give a platform to people that it doesn't matter whether you support the club a week, 100 years, you're welcome. And if you can contribute something to the chat, great. If you're here to learn from the chat, great. But you're welcome. And that's the one thing I would say, is you are all very welcome. And you'll never, ever, ever see me jump down someone's throat that's being sincere. All of these clips that are always out of context never show the reason why I'm calling somebody X or Y. And it's not because I've just picked out a context. It's because they've been asking for it. Ocock said, hey Craig, great stream, mate. Thank you. First Liverpool game I went to was 13-14 season, and we beat Arsenal 5-0 and went 4-0 up in 20 minutes. Since then, I knew I'd support this club forever. That's class. What a game. Jesus, you're not going to get better than that as a first game, are you? My first game was the last game on the Cup, and I was there with my football team at the time. We were playing a competition over in Abergelly, and we were over in Wales, and we went to Prenton Park one day, and then we went to Anfield the other day. And I think it was Oldham. I can't remember the fucking game now because I was 8 or 9. But then there was a huge gap before I get back to Liverpool. And then I got back to Liverpool as an adult for Rafa Benitez time when we played Real Betis in the Champions League. That was my first time back as an adult. Where are we at? Van Strife said, agreed. I always feel like I'm never taken seriously because I'm an American, but it seems chill here. I don't understand that because, like, I understand that it happens to you. Sorry, I don't mean it that way, but I've never understood the elitism around football. Like, it's like me saying, I'm Irish, so I'm only allowed like Katie Taylor. You're not allowed like Katie Taylor, and you don't love Katie Taylor as much as me because I'm Irish. That makes no sense to me because it doesn't really apply to any other things, does it? Nobody says you can't like the Beatles because you're not from Liverpool. You can't like Oasis because you're not from Manchester. You can't like this TV show because you're not American. So the elitist aspect of football fandom has baffled me because some of, like, the simple way I try to explain it is I moan having to get up for a 12:30 game because I have to get out of bed at 11:15. I know Americans, Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders who have to get up at ungodly hours to drive to a supporters club, to open it up for breakfast, to watch a game of football at 6 or 7 in the morning, or have to go into a bar at 2 a.m. for a game. How could you look down your nose at that? As a fan, that blows my mind that people are willing to do that. So those people, to me, are making bigger sacrifices than most of us are going to make for a football club that people are telling them they're not allowed support. It just always felt fucking weird. Nobody is born and just decide. You become a fan of something because it resonates with you. You see something in it that pulls on the heartstrings, makes you excited. You resonate with the people. You resonate with the style of football. You resonate with the city or the team. And nobody should ever have the right to tell you that you don't belong there. That's dickhead behaviour and elitist stuff from people who just want to feel better than other people. And there's enough of them on the internet without me adding to it. You can't like Oasis and support Liverpool. That's a no-no. Well, I bloody love Oasis, mate. They're my favourite band in the world. So I will, unashamedly say, weirdly, I love the Oasis and I don't like the Beatles, which shouldn't really be a sentence that I say out loud because if I like Oasis, common sense would dictate I should like the Beatles. But it's never really floated my boat. But Oasis, I was only raised and I couldn't go to the last Oasis shows because I couldn't get a ticket. But I've been to see Oasis 5 or 6 times, 3 nights in a row in Dublin before. Love them, love them, love them, love them. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to say goodnight because I got to record this late night video and we have a lot of stuff coming up tomorrow. So here's what's happening tomorrow. Connor will be here for the early game, starting, I believe, at 11 a.m. The match kicks off at 11:30. Then I'll be here at 5 p.m. for the watch along of the later game. That starts at 6 o'clock. And then we'll have a late night video tomorrow night as well. One thing I'd like to plug, if I can, is, where is it? This. If you can, we're only about 25 people short of hitting 20,000 people in our WhatsApp. If you haven't joined up yet to the WhatsApp, you can do so by scanning the QR code there on the screen. It's where you will see all of our giveaways that we post in with thanks to the Collector's Corner. And this month we are giving away, where is it? This one. We're giving away this signed John Barnes shirt, completely free, signed and framed with thanks to our friends at the Collector's Corner. We've been doing a giveaway every month in 2026 and we'll do it right throughout the year. This month it's that signed and framed John Barnes shirt. Scan that QR code, that'll bring you into the WhatsApp and you'll see all the information on how to enter there. And of course it's free for everybody to enter. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. I'm going to do my 5 count before I finish up, but thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please do so because we're closing in on 390,000 and we're getting there bit by bit. So we'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Enjoy your Saturday. I'm going to count to 5. See you then. Bye-bye.